define for me in simple terms exactly how you would describe an estate sale.
Sure. Well, Mary, thanks for having me on tonight. We've seen this migration to, you might call them moving sales, but they're estate sales. And so as a result, the definition of an estate sale has changed. It's no longer how do you deal with the tangible personal property of the residual tangible personal property of someone who has passed away. We deal with people who are moving and downsizing as 55 to sometimes some years as much as 60% of our business. Now, we've seen that over the last 2 years with the slowdown in the availability of real estate inventory. We've seen it swing back, the pendulum swing back the other way a little bit. But I would define an estate sale as the professionally managed sale of tangible personal property. Regardless of how that tangible personal property becomes available, it's just a function of getting it sold in a professional manner by a professional entity that has a following and a strong marketing arm to make that a successful exercise.
How do you stay current with market trends and values and accurately assess and price the merchandise?
I got into the estate sales business. I chose to go into the estate sales business 18 years ago. I had left a government contracting job and an opportunity presented itself. I thought, why not? We'll give it a whirl. And 15 days later, I owned half the company. And 86 days later, I owned 65% of the company. And less than a year later, I was the sole owner along with my wife. My wife will attest to the fact that for well over 2 years, I read nothing but auction catalogs, magazines and books on collectibles and subject matter specific books on silver and porcelain and china and anything I could lay my hands on. I didn't read a novel for over 2 years. I felt like I had to get my arms around this massive volume of material and at least have enough of an understanding that when I walked into someone's home that I could identify what I was looking at and be able, more importantly, to differentiate between that which was of value and that which was not. And all of that sort of primary research or that secondary research was then complemented by the fact that we were running estate sales week in and week out to, one minimum, two, sometimes 3 or 4 a week. We've been a very large operation for a very long time. Work in a estate sale and you see what you price things and you see what people actually purchase things at. As I have done for now 18 plus years, review the sales logs every single week. It gives you a real sense of where did I start, where did I end, and what is that intersection between shopper desire and fair market value. Pricing an estate sale is a combination of research and experience and knowledge and then the art of predicting consumer behavior.
So 18 years ago, you were building your knowledge base by doing a lot of research and then at the same time getting hands-on experience. And then what about today? Like all the online resources helpful?
Yeah, I still read articles. I have an entire bookshelf filled with books on various topics, and I don't think I've opened one of them in a decade because all that same material, well, that's not true. I will occasionally dig into the books for very specific things. But 90% of what's there can be found online between both free and some extremely expensive and some less expensive pay resources. And we do all of that. I would say that collectibles in general tend to operate on a sort of 6 to 10 week cycle. So things will be interesting and then they will be uninteresting for the next 6 to 10 weeks. And it sort of cycles back and forth.
That in itself is interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that's an observational. I don't necessarily have data on that, which is actually kind of weird for me since I have data on most everything.
Sometimes there are trends, like I'm a realtor in real estate. Some years everybody was moving to Florida. Some years everybody was moving to North Carolina. Some years it was Southern Virginia. I'm like, this is so interesting how.
Now we had 1 year, Mary, we had 1 year where in the span of 6 weeks, we ran 5 estate sales and 4 people were all moving to within 2 miles of each other. Wow. In Scottsdale, Arizona.
And they didn't know each other.
They didn't know each other. And because we have a set basic fee structure, but every job has its idiosyncrasies. And you you price the special nature type things, activities that are required. You know, if you need a piano removed or if you need a stair lift taken out, those have their own expenses. And all I could think was, oh God, please don't let these people talk to each other. Just don't let them talk to each other. Because our pricing was, our cost structure was consistent, but it's hard to explain to somebody the idiosyncrasies of one job versus another.
How do you plan and organize an estate sale project?
I mean, we have a team that's been with us for a very long time, kind of unique for a non-traditional bricks and mortar retail establishment, which is what we can be considered. We have a different location every single week. So we move our store from point A to point B to point C to point D and never come back to any of the prior points. And the inventory is completely and totally different from week to week. What's consistent is that our average employee longevity or duration with us as employees right now stands at about 14 and a half years. We have a gentleman who knows garages and tool rooms and sheds better than anyone else. And we have a woman who is an absolute whiz at linens and soft goods. We have another woman who is truly an expert at setting up a kitchen. How important that can that be? And I would tell you that it is very important, because we are at the point where our team comes into a home to do a setup. Everybody knows exactly what their assignment is going to be, and they go and they handle their primary task before looping around and helping everyone else with each of theirs, so that we're setting up these events in the most efficient possible manner.
And it's merchandising, right? And you want
It's
it to look good. You don't want it to look haphazard. People need to be able to see what things cost and look logically for, I assume, what they might be looking for. You know, they're
For
not
the
going to look
most
for
part,
kitchen things.
you don't want to over organize either. There is still an element of a treasure hunt that's in play when you're talking about an estate sale. People want to find. They want to be in a bit of a discovery mode, not over the top, but enough that there is that sense of discovery and exploration involved. Anyone who's watching this, I tell you, whether you hire us or don't hire us, as long as you find the company that you think is going to meet your particular needs, great. That's fantastic. You should never work with anyone who doesn't operate without a contract. That contract should specify the terms of sale. It should specify what's expected from the client, what's expected from the company. It also should define when you will receive the proceeds of your sale.
because
These are things that should be in the contract. And if somebody talks to you about, oh, well, we'll just get together each evening and split up the cash, well, you're talking to the wrong company, because you're not talking to a real company at that point.
right. And that's professional.
You want to make sure that the company you're working for has whatever licenses are required for the jurisdiction they're in, that they're bonded, that they're insured, that they have workers' comp, that they pay their employees as W-2 employees and don't make the false argument that all of their employees are contractors and pay them as 1099s. Those are not things you want. You want them to pay their employees as W-2 employees so that they're properly covered for the work they're doing in your home.
Because there's risk when you have people in your home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are great points and things that I wouldn't necessarily have thought. Well, thank you, Daniel, so much. I really appreciate your time, and it's been educational for me.